Hi, I'm Dana, and I feel like the majority of my videos are very focused on like my current experiences, how I feel, how things I'm coping with, and I like making that content. I'm going to carry on doing that, but I do also want to sometimes make some content that's a little bit more sort of the kind of stuff that would have been helpful to me like a few years ago, you know, more so than the stuff that would be helpful to me now. So today I wanted to go through some of the things that my parents used to say to me, because these are all things that I thought were completely normal things for a parent or for any adult to say to anybody, never mind to their own child. They're all things that I heard parents say to my friends, parents said to me. It was very normalised language that made me feel fucking awful, and that I wouldn't say to anybody, let alone my own child, you know? But I normalised it to such a degree that I would like tell therapists, like, my childhood was lovely, my parents were really lovely, great parents. I don't know why I experienced all of these like random signs of trauma and I can't pull myself together. I don't know what's going on because my childhood was perfect. And it was after unpacking these things that I felt like I could actually start to pull myself together a bit, and I'm still very much in the fucking process, I won't lie to you. But it definitely helped. So this is basically for the people that were in that type of situation that I was in, and you might be able to watch this and be like, oh wait a minute, and have some of the necessary realizations that took me a really long time because no one helped me out with it, you know? Like, a lot of my channel is very like, no one fucking helped me with this and it sucks, so like, here you go, have a little bit of like something, like if I can provide anything that's useful, please take it. But getting into it, one of the ones that I've talked about before, and one of the ones that was probably the most common in my childhood, was, are you stupid? And it just made me feel like an absolute idiot. Like, yeah, it turns out that I am stupid, because it was always my mum that said it to me, and it was always in situations where I was trying to learn something new or trying to do something, and I was struggling with it. I was having a hard time with it. I wasn't doing it well. And rather than give me any sort of instruction on how to improve, rather than encourage me to try again, rather than anything that would have been actually useful and productive to the situation, she'd just ask me in a really mean tone, well, are you stupid? And obviously we'd be like, no, I'm not stupid, I just can't do it. And then it's like, well, why can't you do it? And it would become its whole separate thing. But just, I heard it so often. And it's one of the ones that I brought up to my mum years later, and I was like, you called us stupid all the time when I was a kid. And she was like, I never once called you stupid. I asked if you were, and you weren't, were you? And it's like, well, apparently I fucking was, because I couldn't do what I was trying to do. Because usually a parent would give some sort of help or instruction or teach me how to do it. And that wasn't happening, was it? I was just being asked, well, are you stupid then? And like, sure as fuck feels like it, doesn't it? One that both of my parents used, and that just had me in like absolute meltdown so often as a kid, was, if you were really sorry, you'd not have done it. And it was any time I fucked up in any way, 99% of the time, I'd be like, oh shit, I've done this, like I've made this mistake, I've done this thing, I was silly, I wasn't thinking, I was impulsive, I've done this and I'm sorry. Like, no point hiding it and lying about it and like doing a whole thing, because you're gonna find out anyway. So like, here it is, I've done this and I'm really sorry. And every single fucking time, well, if you're really sorry, you wouldn't have done it, would you? Like, there was no way of like asking for forgiveness or just, don't get me wrong, I feel like any child apologising for something, like for the most part, you should just let them say sorry. Like, it's probably what you are asking for anyway. But especially when it's like, I'm owning up to this mistake, to this like impulse thing that I've done, to like whatever the hell it is, I'm owning up to it and I'm apologising. Like, I really wasn't a particularly naughty child, you know? Like, it's very like standard childhood things that I was doing. It's not like I'd murdered someone, it's not like it was like, I never did anything that was like giantly unforgivable. And yet every single time I'd be told, well, if you were really sorry, you wouldn't have done it. And it especially frustrates me that my dad said it so often, because when I was trying to ask him about things in regards to like my childhood and teen years, like, why did this happen, what was going on here, like, why did the family do this, he would so often just start crying and repeating, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And like, I never did it because I have empathy and feel for people, but there were many times that I was really close to being like, well, if you're really sorry, you wouldn't have done it, would you? Like, being able to use my parents' own that like catchphrases back at them was something I like consistently imagined and like fantasized about. And like, I feel like I did a couple of times, and like, honestly, as a teenager I had some like proper zinger comebacks to my mum. But like, a lot of the situations that would have been worthy of me using it were when they were in states that were like very fucking familiar to me. I know that you already feel awful and I'm not going to make someone feel worse. And then it does bring up the thought of like, So why were you okay with doing that to me as a child? That's quite a thought to be having. Now, a lot of the things that my parents said and did, I do, like, to this day, quite consistently wonder if they knew what they were doing, if it was intentional, if they were just so overtired, if it's their first time living too, all that kind of stuff. I was very like, I don't know how much of it's intentional and how much isn't. But the one line that makes me think that a lot more of it was stuff they were aware of than not, was that I was quite consistently told, you don't air out our laundry in public, you don't tell anybody about what's happening in the house. There's no need to air our dirty laundry. Mentioning anything about like the family dynamics, about anything that had happened within the family, any like situations I'd had with my brothers, any sort of punishments I'd had, they were very much not to be mentioned outside of the house. So like when I have the thought of like, well, I'm fairly sure that both my parents were neurodivergent in some way, so maybe when my mum was literally physically washing my mouth out with soap because I'd sworn at my brother, like that's a pretty standard like parental threat, isn't it? I'll say that again, I'll wash your mouth out with soap. Maybe she genuinely just didn't know that other parents were using that as a threat and not actually doing it. Like maybe she genuinely like just wasn't aware that that wasn't something that's done. And then I remember that she like very much made sure that I was not to say anything about that kind of thing in public, and I'm like, so you did know then, because otherwise me mentioning it to my friends wouldn't be worthy of fucking punishment, you know? Like if me mentioning the things that you do and the way that we live in the household dynamic and all of that was something you thought was okay, you wouldn't have made sure I didn't fucking tell anybody about it, and you wouldn't have made sure that it was like I didn't think anybody was supposed to tell anybody anything about their families. Like anything that happens within your family, you just fucking like keep down and you don't say shit. And that especially came to things to do with my brothers, because while my parents weren't often physically abusive towards me, like my mum hit me many a time, and she'd be like, we never hit you, and I'd be like, you did, and she'd be like, oh, that was a tap, and it's like, no, you like fucking whacked me and it really hurt. Like I actually physically remember how much it hurt. Like you hit me, no, it was a tap. So it's one of those things where like I wouldn't be like my parents were physically abusive, because it was few and far between, but there was the constant threat of it, and they allowed my brothers, who were 8 and 9 years older than me, to be very physically abusive towards me. I spent a huge amount of my childhood like having my arms bent up my back, having them like pick me up and like hold me however the fuck they fancied, to keep me like away from them and to do whatever. And it's so often my mum would be like, well, what did Dana do? And they'd be like, she wanted me to go and play with her. And it's like, so your kid sister bugging you to play with her was worthy of you bending her arm up her back and then like holding her upside down and eventually dropping her? Like, no. So especially when I had like bruises and marks and hospital visits from things that my brothers had done, it was very, and remember, you don't air out our dirty laundry. You don't air it out. You keep it private. You don't air out the dirty laundry. Like, like I'm following it up with things now, but it wasn't followed up with things. Like it's literally just the phrase, you don't air out our dirty laundry. And that was enough to like completely shut me up. You don't air out the dirty laundry, that's that. Another one that has annoyed me more the older that I get was, well, what am I supposed to do about it? And like, parent me. Be a parent. Teach me how to do the thing. Help me with this thing. Like, encourage me. Teach me. Be a parent to me. That is what you're meant to do. That's what you're supposed to do about it. This could be anything from, I'm getting bullied in school, I don't have any clean clothes to wear, I've outgrown my shoes. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? And one that feels like it almost followed up those situations a lot of the time was, well, that's what happens. Like, I've come home from school absolutely like bawling my eyes out because I'm being bullied for being fat. Well, that's what happens. You're gonna have to do something about that, aren't you? Again, my brothers are being like physically abusive to me when I'm not in a physical position to in any way fight back. Oh, but you said something to them first, you did something first. Well, that's what happens, isn't it? I quite often accidentally broke toys, or like, it wasn't even like that I'd broken a toy. Like, I played with dolls quite a lot, and it'd be things like the Velcro stopped sticking, or the hair's gotten really knotty, or like things like that, like little kid things that a little kid gets upset about. And rather than like comfort me or fix it or do anything, they're just like, well, that's what happens, isn't it? That's what happens. And that's one of the big things that I think's made me sort of, I don't want to say complacent in life, because that comes across as a whole lot bigger than I mean, but I mean like, if something's a little bit broken, well, that's what happens, isn't it? I just live with it. And there's so many things, like I very recently, oh, my phone's there, it's what I film on, but like I was having all sorts of fucking issues with my screen, and eventually I was like, after months of having like quite severe phone issues like at random times, I was like, oh, well, my screen protector is like cracked and broken horribly. I should take that off and see if it makes it better, and I still need to get a new one. But that fixed it. And it's things like that where like, well, that's what happens, isn't it? Your phone protector gets cracked and then your phone starts to get slow. And it was just normalised to me that if something breaks, if you've broken something, if you've let something like, because it was constantly the, like, in that specific way, it was the implication of like, you should take care of it better. So I do sort of like my parents drilled into me essentially that everything should last forever if you just take care of it well enough. So when anything goes, and like there's so many things in my house that are like a little bit broken, a little bit don't work, and I could quite easily replace them, especially when it's like the cover that I have on my computer keyboard gets really gross after like a couple of years of use, and like it's like £2 to replace, you know, like I could very easily just get a new one when it gets grotty, because I do clean it, I do take care of it. It's just that things don't last forever, especially these days. And rather than do that, I stick it out for like another couple of years, and I'm like, well, that's what happens, isn't it? I should have taken care of it better. I should have done this, I should have done that. That's what happens. And even down to like having like bin issues and the bin's not getting taken things, I'm like, well, that's what happens. Like, it's not a complacency in life of like, I have no ambition. It's just this complacency of like, well, that's what happens. What are you gonna do about it? There's simply no fixing anything, is there? Like, you just have to live with however things go. Like, that's very much the implication that my parents gave me with a lot of things that they said was like, you're just gonna have to fucking live with it. And I do think there's a level to which they meant because like you're a child and you're under our roof and that, but it's definitely something that I've big time carried into my adult years with me, and I'm only just like unpacking and getting to grips with and being like, I can replace the pan that I don't like. When my cutlery's like, when my dish things start to like deteriorate, I can buy new ones. It's not just how it is. And this final one is really fucking common, and I feel like it's one that might like get people a little bit annoyed if it's the wrong type of person watching this video, but the good old stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. Why are you threatening your kids? Like, I still hear this like semi-regularly out in public, and I just don't understand how this is such a normalised fucking phrase. Why are you threatening your children? I'll give maybe in healthier household dynamics. It's also a thing of like, I don't think it's being used in healthy household dynamics, but I suppose if it is being used in healthier household dynamics, the threat is maybe that they'll be grounded, or like, I don't know what normal fucking family threats are, to be honest with you. You know, like our threats were things like, you're gonna not get fed tonight and sent to your room, and you're just gonna have to stay in your room for like 18 hours with no food, and you'll get shouted at if you go to the bathroom, or that you will literally just get hit, and then years later you won't be like, it was just a tap, I don't know why you're complaining. But I very much took it as like, anything horrible could happen to me from here on out if I keep crying, but the issue is that I'm crying because I can't fucking help crying. Like, I've never been like, I don't know if people are people that can fucking cry on demand, and if you are, you probably get into acting. I've never been like the amount of times I was, oh, crocodile tears is another big phrase that I fucking heard. Like, the amount of times that I was accused of just like crying for no reason, or crying because I wanted something, or crying for attention, as though I could just decide to start sobbing and crying with like snot and tears. And it's like, no, like, I feel like genuine distress in this moment as a child. That is why I was crying. And rather than being comforted or helped out in like any fucking way, I was told, I'll stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. I'll give that there are most definitely more, because there were so many times that one of my parents would be going off at one of my other siblings, and me and the sibling that wasn't getting in trouble would be like mouthing along, because my parents like very much had fucking catchphrases. We knew what was going to be said, we knew how it was going to be said. It was like reading from a script with them sometimes. But those are the ones that I've like remembered and wanted to share today, and ones that I have like something to say about, because I think a lot of them were just very like fucking obvious that it was abusive and not nice and not something you should be saying to a child. And like, I know these videos are a bit dark and a bit heavy, but I genuinely thought this was completely normal stuff and had no idea where like all of my trauma and like random shit had come from, you know? And some of it came from this stuff. Some of this like was quite traumatizing and not pleasant to go through and shouldn't have been being said to me, especially with like the regularity that it's said with. But you grow and you heal, and I don't know if I can really say that I'm over it at this point in life, but I'm getting somewhere close to it, you know? Like, I'm definitely doing a lot better for having realised than I think I would have still just going through thinking like, oh, everything's fine, I'm just a failure and can't feel right, and like, you know, it was harder not knowing than it is to know. So that's the video. I post content like this and also about being autistic on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays. I don't know how much you could see of Otis being patchy as fuck again. I don't know why it's happening. He has a vet appointment tomorrow. It's costing me a fucking fortune. But anything for little guy. I got him a little outfit that I should just, like, it's not an outfit, it's like a surgical recovery suit, because I just need him to stop washing, but I'm convinced he's gonna get like tangled on something, like strangle or suffocate himself in some way, or it'll like, I don't know what I for some reason I think I'll put him in this little suit and then he'll be dead, and I don't know why I'm thinking like that. I don't know why that's what my brain's decided's going on, and I don't really know why I'm telling you now. I also, this is the new setup. I do still want more like frames and pictures, but I'm only buying picture frames when I see nice, like, let's face it, it's not even when I see nice ones, it's when I see like decent sized ones in charity shops. That's the only time I'm getting frames, so it's a work in progress. Let me know if you liked this or preferred the other like corner situation, I guess. I'm going now. Whoever you are, wherever you are, if you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.